All right, so we got a couple trading opportunities setting up this week. I posted them in my free Telegram channel, and I'm going to go through them right now. The link's in the description. It's just a free Telegram channel where I share all my trades and analysis live for free every day for the past 8 years. The first one I'm waiting for is Euro GBP. I'm waiting for a dip deeper into this support zone, and I'll be looking to buy. Second one right here is GBP CAD. I'm waiting on a dip lower in the support zone to look to buy. Third one is Euro AUD. I'm waiting on a dip lower into this support zone, looking to buy. And that's it. It's basically it for now. Now, there's a couple more I'm going to break down a little bit more in detail. We're going to go into them now. So let's go over here to Trading View. You can see my actual alert on Euro GBP is down here around this region. The reason I'm waiting for price to push into the zone is two major reasons. So number one, I have a general rule of thumb where I look to enter trades about at least halfway into the support resistance zone. So if price goes into resistance, I just draw the zone based on what I think encapsulates most of the price action at the zone. So where the highs and where the wicks and where the closures are. And then what I'll do is I'll set my alert about halfway into that zone, and that kind of gives me a reference point to look to start making a decision as to whether I want to enter a trade. And then what I'll do is I'll generally look at where the previous highs went deep into the zone, because those are generally the make it break it points where price is either going to bounce at the zone or break. So what I'll do is if price does get into that region, I'll be looking to sell somewhere around that region with a stop just above the zone and then a target at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. Same thing here is setting up for support, right? Just inverted. So here's what I'll be looking to do on Euro GBP. We're waiting for price to come down here into this zone. If we can get right here around where all these previous lows popped into this zone, so here, 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 and then potentially right here in the future this week, I'll be looking to buy at that region. Stop loss will go below the zone, probably something like that. I'll be risking about $50,000 on this trade if I take it, depending on the context. And it will look like this. If it starts going against me, I'll close. I'll try to take a little bit smaller of a loss. And if it starts bouncing in a profit, I'll try to hold it all the way to the profit target. This ensures that I'm making a little more when I'm right versus what I lose when I'm wrong. If you're new here to my channel, my name's Nick. I've been trading Forex, crypto, and stocks for the past decade. And I've made millions of dollars in all markets combined. Right now, I'm risking anywhere from $25,000 to $75,000 per trade. And on a couple trading opportunities the past few weeks, I've risked upwards of $100,000 per trade. So it's just the same old stuff over and over again. Not trying to be a hero. We're waiting for price to get into the zones. We're looking for a little bit of a bounce, and then we're trying to profit from price bouncing away from the zones. So that is Euro GBP for now. GBP CAD is the same situation basically as Euro GBP. I'm waiting on price to get deeper into this zone. The first touch here into this zone, it bounced way too quickly for me to be able to even capture an entry. But I'll be waiting for price to pull back here to these previous highs, and then mainly this previous low right here. If we can get down to that previous low, that I think will be a great trading opportunity for buys. The trade will look something like this, right? The entry will be somewhere down in this region of the zone. Stop will be below the zone, maybe a little something like that. And target will be at a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. So it'll be something like this. And then again, if I enter and price starts going sideways, I'll try to get out of the trade a little bit early. If it starts breaking the zone, I'll try to close it before the stop loss. And if we start bouncing, I'll try to hold it to the profit target. Very, very simple. Euro AUD is looking really promising too. It looks like we're going to end up falling below this zone. Falling down to this zone. We have a couple bounces here in the past. We have a little bit of leakage below the zone right there. But the last 3 times prices touched this region, it's literally bounced basically immediately as soon as price got into there. So I'm waiting for price to come into that region. Then if we start to bounce, fair enough. I'll get into a buy, stop below, target above. USD/JPY last week, so she's doing something interesting. So currently the thing that I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for price to get here into this resistance zone. It's just where price had a nice little bounce previously in summer of 2024. So we're coming up on almost 2 years ago. Had a nice huge bounce away from this region, really extended. If we can get up here again, I don't think we're going to have a bounce this big. I think that we're probably going to ultimately head above this zone just because price looks like it's kind of in an uptrend on the macro, for the past few years. And what I'm looking for is I'm just looking for a little tug away from the zone. I'm not looking to try to be a hero. I'm looking to enter at the zone, stop above, target below. Should be a pretty easy 1-to-1 trade, 1-to-1 risk reward trade if price does in fact bounce. Again, we don't know. Last week I took a trade, I risked $100,000 on this, and I'll show you exactly what happened here in Telegram. I posted my P&L, as I do every week. Past 5.5 months, I've made $273,000 before fees, swaps, commissions, and things. Last week was these 3 trading opportunities. So Euro CAD, and I lost that trade for $35,000. The risk on that was $50,000. So I lost a partial loss. GBP NZD, I had 2 entries on that. I think I was risking 80,000. I can't remember, 70, 80,000, 75,000. This ended up coming back, and I ended up closing at a small net profit. So 13K on the first entry. On the next one that I added in profit, that was 9K loss. So roughly came out to break even, a little bit of profit after the fees and commissions. And the third opportunity was USDJPY, which I risked. I think it was like $100,000, and this resulted in a small loss. So just under 30K loss. And so it was a small losing week last week relative to the profits. Y'all remember my USDJPY trade I took the week before? Made $150,000 on that before fees and commissions. Even after the fees and commissions, I think I made like $134,000. It was an amazing trade. So you'll notice that even if you go back into my trading history, because I've shared the P&L in here just for forever, right? When you go back, what you'll notice is my wins generally are bigger than my losses. So when I lose, which is half the time, I lose a smaller amount on average than I make whenever I win on average the other half the time. So that's what keeps me profitable. It's just making a little more when I'm right versus what I lose when I'm wrong. So that was USDJPY. You know, the way price is coming back here into this region, there's a couple things that could happen. It's basically 2 things that could happen, right? Now, I'm a genius because it's either going to go up or down. Cool. But what is that actually going to look like? Well, if we bounce here, right, price is broken above this little resistance zone. If we pull back right here like we have and have a little bit of a bounce, we could see this turn into support and send us higher into this resistance zone. That's my base case that I think is going to happen. So I'm not looking to get into a short on this trade quite yet. Other thing that could happen is that we break back down below this zone, spend a couple days, you know, consolidating or coming back to retest, and then we test this resistance again and maybe start to bounce there. This could basically turn into what some people would call a head and shoulders. You have the left shoulder, you have the head, break back below, and then the right shoulder before we have a little fall from the zone. That could happen. I'm just not so sure, right? We'll have to see what price action does, because I don't try to predict price. I just respond to what's happening, and I structure my risk. I make money just because of the risk structure, basically. Like if I'm right, I make a little more than when I'm wrong. And I structure risk based off support resistance, as always. So what's going to happen here? Don't really know. I'm going to be waiting to see what price action does. If we go higher, cool, I'll wait to sell at resistance. And if we break back down below, I might look to take like a little break and retest trade to sell off this little region, looking for a little bit of a bounce. We'll have to see what she does though. Right here, you know, I could see her bouncing. We're at this little support zone. We've already been above this zone. We closed above this zone. I personally think she's going to go higher, but you know, we'll have to see. Euro Canadian dollar. I'm waiting on price to pop back up into this resistance zone. I'm not quite sure if I will actually be selling, but I do know if we get up here in this resistance zone, then we do have the likelihood that price could kind of bounce away from that zone. Just because it's a region where price has already bounced, technically you can count that 1, 2, 3 times. Broke above, found support once, twice, 3 times. Had a little quick dip below, but then that was short-lived, popped right back up above. Came back and tested a support right there before we rallied off this zone. So it's a pretty clearly defined zone with the exception of this little leakage right here. We had a little pin through the zone. Some people call it a fake out. Some people call it a liquidity spike. I don't care what you want to call it. Price broke below the zone, tried to go lower, but failed, popped back above the zone, found support, and continued higher. I think this is a fair enough resistant zone to structure risk off of with an entry at the zone. Stop loss will be above the zone, probably something like up here, and then a take profit at 1-to-1, wherever that happens to lie from the entry and the stop. Another one here that I'm looking at this morning that I think is really promising is AEDJPY. So a couple things. Number one, this thing's been doing nothing but going up for quite some time, right? Certainly a really aggressive uptrend the past year, but if we go all the way back into here where all this began in April of 2025, right, it's been basically an entire year that price has just been moving up. So I think that, you know, at least for the time being, I think it's perfectly fine to buy. We just need to be able to find a good entry. So I've got this little support resistance zone right here. Resistance right here. We spiked deeper into this region, resistance. We spiked in this region, resistance, then broke above. So we had a nice little cataclysmic spike up above this zone, pulled all the way back, and now it looks like we're finding support here. I didn't buy this last week, and you know, to be fair, I don't know why I didn't. I have no defense or explanation why I did. I just didn't get into a long on this trade. I think the fact that we've had a little bit of a bounce right here over London session last night, if we could have a tug back here into this little region, I think entering right here at the zone would be perfectly fine. There's this little kind of like temporary support resistance zone in the lower time frames, like 1 hour. I think that would be perfectly fine to structure the risk on this trade. Entry could be right there, stop below the zone, basically like right there would be fine. Target of 1 to 1. This should be pretty easy to hit if price is going to have a bounce away from this zone. So I think this will be a perfectly fine risk structure for the trade. I'll be sharing that in Telegram, if I do end up getting into this trade. So that is that for AD JPY. We'll be seeing what she does. So CAD JPY, nothing. GBP NZD, nothing. Basically nothing on any of the other pairs. I marked this up on NZD USD. Not quite sure if I'm going to be taking this trade just because we had a dip below this zone. Now we're quickly coming back into this zone. Normally when you see price spike back up into the zone really quick within like 1 or 2 candles, it's just a higher chance that it might become a fake out, right? Because the move is so quick. Spikes below the zone, grabs orders, hits stops, triggers people to get into shorts thinking it's going to be a breakout. And then sometimes what you'll do is if it comes back quick enough, you'll have price pop back above the zone, come back, find support, and then we can look to go long above. I may be looking to get short on this. Again, it's just not the clearest setup for me. We do have all these little lows right here, and we do have like this little area where price found resistance. I'm just going to be waiting on this. I'm going to see what sets up. I might be entering this trade, but with lower risk, maybe like $25,000 instead of $50,000 to $75,000. Generally, I have like a little like threshold for how much I'll risk per trade. Again, 25K to 75K usually. And for this one right here, I'm just going to wait and kind of see what sets up. And then depending on exactly what sets up will dictate exactly what I do. So we will go ahead and see what happens on that. Again, I don't really see anything else on a lot of these other pairs. They're all really far away from their major zones. Nothing clear that I see. I prefer to just wait for setups that look nice. So the last thing here is Solana US dollar. As you guys know, I've been long on Solana for the past 6 months. I made about $2 million last year from just cryptocurrency alone, not counting Forex, not counting stocks, not counting my business here at Mission FX. Just from crypto, I did like 1.975 million last year. So I posted that all on Telegram. I posted my full P&L from my exchange. And what I'm looking for is, since I've lost about $900,000 the past the past 6 months, since October basically, when I started adding back in, because I sold everything when price spiked up. A lot of you guys remember I sold Solana around 240, maybe just above 240, so somewhere in here. She ended up dropping. I ended up starting to get in on the dips, and then I've accumulated on these dips as we've been going down. My break-even point on Solana right now is just below 140, so it's like 138 right here. If price can get back up to there, I'll make back everything I've lost, but currently sitting in unrealized P&L. I've given back about half of everything I made last year in crypto, but again, that's unrealized P&L, and I do think the likelihood of this going up long-term is high. It's just a matter of time. Now, nobody wants to sit and wait 6 to 12 months, but like, what are you going to do? You're going to panic sell on the lows at the best times to buy? I'm not going to do that. So I'm thinking that for now, Solana's looking like she's at least trying to go up, for now. We have a set of little small higher highs being formed and a set of small higher lows being formed. This is looking like decent enough that we might start seeing a little blow off top right here where she just gets above these highs and then starts rocketing up here to this next region. An area where I think Solana could bounce is right here. We have resistance there. We've got support here. We've got support here. Support a bunch of times right there. Came back, found support, dipped all the way to 100 back last year. And then we had a bounce above support, and then we continued back up here to close to the previous highs. She tried to bounce earlier, towards the end of last year. She failed to end up making a new high right here, and instead we dipped all the way down here to like below 80. I do think that we are due for some sort of a tug back. Even if we pop back up here and then we come back, I do think that'll be perfectly reasonable. So for Solana, I remain long on all my holdings. I haven't sold any. I have close to $1 million worth of Solana right now, so we'll just be waiting and kind of seeing what happens for that. That's my analysis for the day. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If you liked this video, I really appreciate it. It really helps the channel out, helps the algorithm. And again, you can follow all my trades live for free every single day in my free Telegram channel. So the link's in the description, and I'll probably put in the pinned comment too. Without further ado, I wish you guys a happy week trading. I'll update you guys either tomorrow or the next day with where these trades are at, where the setups are at, and then we'll talk about it some more. Happy trading. See ya.